Testing 1, 2, 3.
We get a noise, yeah. Okay, so keep that level good for you. I think they'll come up. Sandra? Who was talking? I'm going to put the podium there.
Testing 1, 2.
Okay. Hmm?
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Okay, right here. You just, yeah, take it off auto and just control. Yeah, I took off auto. So she on manual now. Yeah. See, she on mic level. On mic level. Yeah, no problem. Emily. Cashew or roasted? Which one?
There you go. afternoon, everyone. My name is Sandra Gumansing. I am the Media Relations Director for the VI Department of Justice. Welcome to the Attorney General's press conference detailing very significant litigation instituted by the Attorney General on behalf of the government of the Virgin Islands. Following the presentation, we will open to questions from the media. Please be sure to turn off all cell phones or put it on vibrate. At this point, we welcome the Attorney General of the Virgin Islands, Denise N. George.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, members of the press and those of you joining us live stream. On June 17th, when I was sworn in as Attorney General of the U.S. Virgin Islands, I promised to work to the very best of my ability to serve the people of the Virgin Islands with fairness, integrity, and honor. As the Attorney General, I'm charged with the enforcement of the laws of the Virgin Islands, including the prosecution of crimes and claims, civil claims also, on behalf of the government. It is the duty of my office to hold accountable those who violate our laws and must do so in the name of the people of the Virgin Islands. Soon after I took office in April of 2009, I was inundated with inquiries from the local and national media regarding alleged criminal activity by Jeffrey Epstein in the U.S. Virgin Islands. All seemed secondhand and unverified information at the time, and I have no knowledge, even now, with respect to whether or not there had been any criminal complaints filed with local or federal law enforcement. However, I wanted to look into it, and I did not want to remain complacent because the claims and what I heard and the allegations were so serious and really shocking to the conscience of many of us here. So what I did is I authorized an investigation into Jeffrey Epstein, who was a resident of the U.S. Virgin Islands and a registered sex offender with my office. As a result of the findings of my investigation, today I filed in the Superior Court of the Virgin Islands a civil lawsuit on behalf of the government of the Virgin Islands against the estate of Jeffrey Epstein and 6 associated Virgin Islands entities through which Jeffrey Epstein carried out an expansive scheme of human trafficking and sexual abuse of young women and underage girls right here in the Virgin Islands. The other named defendants in the complaint are the 1953 Trust, Plan D LLC, Great St. Jim LLC, Nautilus Incorporated, Hyperion Air Incorporated, or LLC rather, Popular Incorporated. Along with these named defendants, Epstein deliberately maintained a complex web of Virgin Islands corporations and limited liability companies and foundations and other entities, some of which are still yet unknown by the government of the Virgin Islands. But through these entities, he carried out and concealed his criminal conduct. These entities also held properties including Little St. James and Great St. James, as well as private planes, helicopters, boats, and automobiles used to transport victims to and from and within the U.S. Virgin Islands. I want to be clear that this is not a criminal action, but it is a civil enforcement action by the government of the Virgin Islands under the Virgin Islands laws, including the Criminally Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. In our complaint, the government of the Virgin Islands seeks to extinguish and recoup any and all financial and other benefits that flowed to Epstein and his associates as a result of their operations in the Virgin Islands. We also seek to obtain civil forfeiture or divestiture of any and all properties and instrumentalities in the Virgin Islands used by the Epstein enterprise and instrumentality in their criminal activity, including but not limited to the islands of Little St. James and Great St. James. The complaint speaks for itself and lays out allegations of a pattern and practice of human trafficking, sexual abuse, and forced labor of young women and female children as young as 13 years old that were often occurred over at the Epstein's islands, his private islands of Little St. James and Great St. James. Available flight logs established that the Epstein enterprise transported young women and underage girls to the Virgin Islands for these unlawful purposes. As a prosecutor, I will not try this case in the court of public opinion. The evidence will be presented in a court of law, and definitely not on the podium of the press conference. But to be clear, I want you to understand that I am focused, and this lawsuit focuses on conduct that happened here in the U.S. Virgin Islands in violation of Virgin Islands laws, and the businesses and individuals that carried out these acts in the Virgin Islands. The conduct described in our complaint, as we note, betrays the deepest principles and values of the government and the people of the Virgin Islands. The Virgin Islands has aggressive laws against human trafficking and criminal enterprises, and these laws, both criminal and civil, permit the government to seize assets, impose penalties, and seek damages from violators of those laws. This filing seeks to enforce the laws of the U.S. Virgin Islands and to hold the Epstein estate and his co-defendants accountable to the full extent of the law, and also to deter whomever else might seek to break our laws. As I previously stated, this is an enforcement action by the government of the Virgin Islands. It does not assert or displace claims by individual victims. Their claims are their own. While and with this filing, the government is exercising its authority and responsibility to enforce its laws, protect the public safety, and to send a strong message to ensure redress for the victims of crime. That is a separate and independent of any of the private claims that may be filed by individual victims. I bring this action to seek all remedies available to the government of the Virgin Islands in enforcing its laws and protecting the public interest and public safety. These claims are distinct from and not intended to supplant the claims of victims who were unconscionably harmed by Jeffrey Epstein and his associates. However, I do ask anyone who was trafficked or abused by Jeffrey Epstein in the Virgin Islands to reach out to our office. We have set up a hotline, and it will be available 24 hours a day. And that number is 800-998-7559. I also invite you to visit our office as well, if you prefer to speak in person. For those of you who have information that might help in this litigation, I urge you to come forward. I know that you may not have recognized what was going on at the time. There were many pieces to this puzzle that actually only now the government of the Virgin Islands is really discovering and putting together. I understand that even as you may have hated what you saw, and Epstein may have required you to remain quiet. You cannot be liable for reporting criminal activity, period. We cannot go back in time, but we do need your help to see that justice is done now. You have a fresh chance to share whatever information you have. Even if you think we already know, or if you're not sure whether it would matter, I call on you to reach out. We need your help. You can use the same hotline number at 800-998-7559. And finally, For those of you who have questions about what the government did before, I cannot speak to the past. But here, today, the Virgin Islands is standing up on its own to demand accountability and justice. I want to be clear and unequivocal that our intention is to apply our laws forcibly and even handily without fear or favor. This is my commitment to those who live and visit the U.S. Virgin Islands. Epstein's victims deserve answers and accountability. The people of the Virgin Islands deserve accountability. The conduct of Jeffrey Epstein and his associates shocks the conscience and betrays the deepest principles and laws of the U.S. Virgin Islands. The Virgin Islands is not and will not be a safe haven for human trafficking or sexual exploitation. Since I took office in April of 2019, my office is dedicated as one of its top priorities to hold accountable those who break the laws, regardless of political, social, or economic status. The filed complaint is available or will be available on our website. Also, it should be available on our Facebook page, which would be the Attorney General Denise George VI Department of Justice Facebook page. Also, before I take questions, I'd like to introduce my team. As you know, or you may not know, instituting lawsuits of this nature takes a team effort. And I want to recognize members of my team who are sitting here with me. Deputy Attorney General Carol Thomas Jacobs, Solicitor General Pamela Tepper, Chief of the Civil Division Ariel Smith, and Director of the Sex Offender Registry Shani Pinney. Now I'm open to hear questions. Hi. Well, that's a bit early in the stage to even really know. At this point in time, we're seeking all equitable and legal remedies available to the government, which would include forfeiture, damages, civil penalties. So that's something that would later on be determined by the court. Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. A part of the complaint, a part of the relief that we are seeking is forfeiture or divestiture of all properties, real property that's been used during the course of the criminal activity. And that would include the Little St. James and Great St. James Island as well, yes. No, not for violations of all of the laws. The criminal activities, that's the basis of this complaint, which is the trafficking, the child sexual abuse and exploitation. Well, actually, those other violations, as you could understand, are being handled administratively at this time. It is a part of our complaint in the fact that we believe that in the purchasing of Greater St. James, it was, and the construction and the requisite instruction and everything, it was a part of expanding, being able to expand the criminal activity as well as to add to concealing what was going on Little St. James. So we believe that, but as far as the violations of law, it clearly shows another example of how Epstein, or the Epstein enterprise that we call him and the associates, just flagrantly violated Virgin Islands law and had no regard for it. Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, definitely, as I said, we just filed a complaint. At this point in time, it's early in the stage of what it is that we're going to be doing. But penalties, all divestiture of the instrumentalities and divestitures of the all of the assets and everything is included in that. If you would look at the complaint, it also includes civil remedies that we are afforded under the Criminally Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act that can result in dissolution of these entities as well. Yes. Yes. Good afternoon. Well, it depends. I can't really say how long. I would say that it started with an investigation. It started with me authorizing someone to get information to verify the claims and the allegations. So I can't say. It takes a lot of time and effort. It's very detailed, and we have to make sure that the facts are verified. We have to make sure that the facts are substantiated, because I would not put any allegation unless I'm sure that we have solid substantiation for those allegations. Well, it is under the Criminally Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. Under the Criminally Influenced and Corrupt Organization Act, which we call CICO. Oh, under the Criminally Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, which we call CICO, there are provisions for criminal CICO, which are where criminal charges are filed, as well as civil. So we are filing this action under the civil section, so it is a civil CICO. But under the civil section, you're able to file, we are able, as the government, the Attorney General, is able to file a civil lawsuit based on criminal activity and criminal violations of the criminal statutes or the criminal laws under the racketeering statute under CICO. So that's what this is. So it is a civil enforcement action of the Criminally Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act and laws. Yes. Yes. Well, I have to tell you, first of all, generally speaking, most criminal laws or criminal offenses, a victim is able to sue civilly. What the CICO, and I'll just continue to call it CICO, what our CICO law does is it allows the government, the Attorney General, to be able to file civil charges or civil lawsuit against violators of the criminal activity. And it has to be, so we have to claim that we are filing under those particular offenses that have been committed. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm not going to say, I cannot disclose details of the investigations, but I would say that so far in our investigation, which is continuing, I might add, definitely indicates that victims or persons were victimized within the Virgin Islands. As far as where they're from, I cannot disclose that or give details on that. But definitely there were victimizations here in the Virgin Islands. Mm-hmm. Well, I would tell you, as indicated, the sexual offender registry is under the Attorney General's office. But at this time, we are even reviewing certain rules and regulations and everything with respect to our laws and how we proceed, especially, and also stepping up on enforcement as well. That is not to say, however, that that was the reason why, or had we had other rules and regulations, that Mr. Epstein would not have been able to conduct this kind of activity over all these years, because the sex offender registry under SORNA throughout the United States is not a penal statute. It's really just for the safety and well-being of people to know and for people to be aware of the location and the addresses and where people are living who are sex offenders, and that's why they have to register. So there are limitations on what it is that we can do, even when we have address verifications, where we go to the Department of Justice would go to the homes. They're only there to verify the addresses and verify that those persons are there, but they're not there to go in and do a search or a raid or anything like that. That would require probable cause and a warrant. Well, just as any criminal case. I mean, if as I indicated, sex offenders were there. They're on watch with respect to making sure that they register. Just as any case, if there are, violations of law, criminal violations of law, it depends on persons reporting what occurred. And the first responders for these types of activity, violent crimes, would normally be the Virgin Islands Police Department, and then the Virgin Islands Police Department then can refer to the Attorney General's Office for prosecution, but it would have to go through the same way.
They don't have a boat.
Hmm?
Do they have access to a boat to check on people that live on islands?
What?
Please.
Oh, if the police do, I am not sure whether or not the VIPD has a boat.
So you don't know whether they could travel to...
The Virgin Islands Police Department, I do not know, and that is, I would not want to speak on that. That is not my department. But I would say that we do have access, the government of the Virgin Islands has access through various agencies to boats that can be made available. In fact, when the address verifications were done, we would make arrangements to use boats of other agencies to be able to go and do the address verifications, even on Mr. Epstein's islands. Yes.
Do you think that there may come a time during the course of this litigation where individuals may be named as being liable for some of these actions and possibly criminally liable somewhere down the road?
I would say that anything is possible. I say in any investigation, what we do is we follow the evidence. And whatever the evidence results in is what we will proceed on.
Last question. I noticed in this document that investigators said that Jeffrey Epstein, while he was alive, told them that they could only come as far as the dock at Little St. James because that represented his front door. Is it possible that victims of Jeffrey Epstein may still be living on Little St. James at this time? And is there anything in this investigation that you foresee where investigators may be able to go past the front door at Little St. James and, speak to these people who may be subject to the benefits of this lawsuit?
Well, as I said, I cannot discuss the details of the investigation, and it is indeed ongoing. And that's about what I can say. But anything is possible with an investigation based on the evidence.
The last I heard, the federal investigation was also still ongoing, and the island was being held as evidence. Is that still the case?
I don't know. You're referring to a federal investigation, and
Were you working with the federal government in a joint investigation? Or was it separate?
no, I was not.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you for joining us for the press conference. This concludes our conference. Thanks to all the media participants. And if you have further questions, I could be contacted at 774, that's 340-774-5666, extension 10105. Do have a wonderful afternoon.